Hello, I'm Zach Liknaitzky, and welcome to Instinct Marketing Presents Business Casual, the live stream talk show for businesses of all sizes. We've got an extra special show for you today because today is the Father's Day special. So all of our guests, you guessed it, are dads. And it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal 3 guests for you. And I know I say the same thing every week, and it's still true with just a little bit of extra because they're all dads. In fact, we're going to have an extra dimension to the show. You're going to see what I mean in just a second because you notice I'm sitting on an angle because there's another chair here. I'm going to have all my guests jump on right about now. So, hey, while we're waiting, how you guys doing? Oh, look, Marco actually ended up being the first one here. Philip's there coming through. Whoa, my dad's here. How did that happen? That's a weird technology. We've made very strong efforts. Hello, Marco. You should be able to, can you hear me now? He's connecting to his audio. Philip's there. Philip, can you hear me? All right, we're off to a strong start. I hear that, so you can hear them. Here, put this in. This is your left ear. Philip, still nothing? Okay, Marco, can you hear me?
There you are. I got you. There you are. There you are.
As I said, strong start, real strong start. Okay, Philip's is having a bit of an audio issue here, so we're going to sort him out in a hot minute here. Let me just, we're going to let everybody introduce themselves. So, Dad, tell us all about, how you know Marco. We're waiting for Philip to figure out his life. Let me help him.
How I know Marco? Right, well, hello, just in case anybody doesn't know, I'm Zach's dad.
We're going to get there. We're going to get who you are and what you're doing here.
Well, you want to tell me how I know Marco?
Yeah, keep on track.
All right, sorry about that. Hey, Marco, how you doing? Marco
Hey,
is
Julian.
from Protrainer. He's the world's greatest trainer because he's my trainer. And very happy to see him here. I actually see him quite a lot these days on Zoom. So except today he's a little zoomed back a bit so we can see those big muscles.
Zoomed back on Zoom. Oh, yeah, what a convenient angle. Oh, what a convenient angle. Oh, it's so hard in this shirt. Oh.
It's called interfit explosion, by the way.
Interfit explosion.
Explosion. Yes.
Hold on. Let me, okay, Dad, the feedback we're getting so far is you need to go close to the mic, so let me give you that.
Okay. All right.
Is that better, everybody?
Is that better?
Yep.
Can you hear me better?
Good. Yeah, much better.
Okay, while we're waiting for Philip to sort out his situation, I just want to say thank you for everybody for jumping on the call tonight and watching the show. I want to say please do share this out. Oh, Philip's iPad's connecting his audio. Please do share the video out because only you can prevent low view counts. Philip, you got it.
Gotcha.
Unbelievable.
Hi, guys.
How's it? Lovely ascot. Or should I say, Dad ascot, though?
Techno savvy.
Emphasis on the no.
How's it, guys?
We are doing wonderfully. Everybody's here. You are live on Bookface, as you like to call it. And we're having a grand old time. And we're just about to get started with my favorite segment called Who Are You and What Are You Doing Here? And since he's sitting next to me, I'm going to let my dad go first. Hey, Dad, who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, more importantly, I don't know. Who are you and what are you doing here?
I mean, I already said that. I already said that bit.
Okay. Who I am is Zach's dad. What I'm doing here is I've been in my own business in Toronto for 30 years. And he decided he wanted to get an old and wise head to give some information to everybody. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, especially because it's the Father's Day special. And good to be here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And for all those interested, his first name, as far as I'm concerned, is Dad. Some people call him Julian for some reason. I don't know why. Philip, who are you and what are you doing here?
Good morning. My name's Phil, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure whether to get up or to go to bed, but I don't know why I'm here. Zachy, thank you for the invitation. You did tell me that you would like me to come onto the show, and I'm delighted to be here with you guys.
Thank you. For all those interested, Philip is coming to us live from South Africa, and actually, as he said, stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning because he so desperately wanted to be on the show because he's always wanted to be interviewed live in real time in Canada.
Correct. Now I'm famous.
Marco, tell us, who are you and what are you doing here?
I am a personal trainer. I own a company called Interfit Explosion. I've been training your dad for roughly 19, 20 years, Julian, give or take. And you invited me on the show, and thank you very much. And that's the reason I'm here right now.
Excellent. We're happy to have you. I want to say, Marco, you were looking extra vascular today.
Thank you.
Vascular man.
Yes. All the women like was a vascular man. Okay, so now now that we're done ripping on Marco, we're going to we're going to get into the show. So we're going to start with a simple question of tell us a little bit more about your business and why you got started. Why don't we start with Marco this time?
Well, my business, I started roughly about 20 some years ago. I started with a personal training company, gradually progressed to a fitness facility, went to back to personal training. And that's most of my market, I have a lot of executives. I train a lot of executives, but I also train the average individual. Now, I train sports teams, but that's basically it, really. Is there anything else you'd like to know about
the best individuals I'd like to point out you train?
Also, Marco,
sitting right next to Zach. Sitting right next to Zach right now.
Marco, I want you to know, if you notice us giggling at all, we weren't laughing at you at all. We were laughing at the fact that Philip just very spontaneously just got up.
Philip, you should have taken your
I was
toilet paper
wondering.
earlier.
Oh my God.
So Philip, tell us about why you got it, what do you do, and why you got into the business.
Okay, so my business is actually threefold, or it's evolved into three components. Namely, I started off as an auctioneer in 1971, I think it was, and it evolved into doing valuations, of which I did various courses for valuations on fixed assets and movable assets. And in the last 6 or 7 years, I was asked by a friend of mine to host a whole bunch of very wealthy American folks to come out here on a golf sites and safari tour, which I've been doing ever since and loving it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Dad, tell us about what you do and how you got into it.
Well, I started out wanting to be a psychologist, ended up being a lawyer, and then my mother said what I needed to be actually was a psychological lawyer. So years later, I ended up being a psychological lawyer as a mediator, where I help people navigate the law in a way that keeps things peaceful and happy, and try and get them from A to B in the best possible way, or A to Z actually, even B. And so I've been doing this now for quite a while, and I have a whole lot of people who have come to the end of their divorces and managed to get there without having to go to court and fight and have any problems. So it's a very rewarding job when I actually manage to get people from the beginning, where they don't know what to do, until the end, where they say, okay, well, we're good, thank you, and we can go and get everything sorted out.
Can we just point out, like, became a lawyer, mother said you should be like an elevated lawyer. Headline, Jewish mother dissatisfied with career path of child.
She was just trying to help.
Okay. Sorry, was that Philip?
No, I was going to ask him, you do counseling for divorces, or do you do house calls? Because you can come to South Africa.
Well, with Zoom, I can actually do house calls. You want to talk to me about this afterwards or something?
No, listen, I've been married for 31 years, and people say to me, oh, you've got a great marriage. I say, not that great. They said, but together you got 2 beautiful kids. I said, yeah, the only reason why we didn't get divorced is because none of us wanted the kids.
It's very, very nice of you. Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is we're living in very strange times. And it's, with everything going on in the world, it's more and more difficult to run a business. And so I want to know how all of you sort of stay positive in this current climate, and how other entrepreneurs out there can stay positive, because it's quite a dog show out there right now. Philip, let's start with you.
Okay, it has been a very difficult time for everybody, and sudden changes that no one actually anticipated. And it's actually, I call it the world's reboot button, because suddenly you have to realize what your true values are, what's necessary and what's not. And it's a good time to clean out. And that's for all the overheads and the expenses and the unnecessary things. It's made everybody very super conscious, because we've been in lockdown for 3.5 months now, and our lockdown is like house arrest. It was very strict. And you know, most people that are out that don't work or don't have access to their jobs, 90% or 90-odd% of people survive from month to month. And if you can't survive without assistance for 2 or 3 months, people are running out of small change pretty quick. So yes, it has initiated different thinking, and people are becoming more savvy and intuitive, and everybody's cutting their costs. But the thing is that for the first time in my existence, when markets are up and down, countries some are booming and some are in recession, this is the first time I've ever known of a world crisis since the Second World War. By the way, I wasn't around at the Second World War, but it's definitely a time for a very big rethink for the whole world. Everyone's in a similar situation. They're all on the same tide, but on different levels.
It's true. And, you know, we've been hearing about all these people doing different things to pivot their businesses in more ways than one. And that's sort of been the way to survive right now. And it's very true that, you know, you do need to rethink a lot of what you're doing. Dad, how do you stay positive in all this madness?
Well, one of the things that I heard a long time ago when I think it was about early when I came to Canada was about an organization called Outward Bound. And Outward Bound had a very interesting thing, which was that they did an analysis in the Second World War about the boats that were being sunk in the Atlantic by the German U-boats, and that the 18-year-olds in the lifeboats were not surviving, but the 40 and 45-year-olds were surviving. And they did analysis of it, and they found out that the 18-year-olds would panic and start drinking seawater because they had no life experience to draw on, whereas the older men were kind of sitting back and saying, listen, we've got to relax, we've got to conserve our energy, we've got to do all these things. And what I really learned about life, I guess, is that things go in cycles, and things go bad and things go good, and you come around again, and you just have to keep the faith in terms of what you're doing. So in order to keep positive, is to be able to say, okay, we are in the situation we're in, we have to deal with what you're in, but things will get better. There was a great line I heard recently, or Maya Angelou quote, that said, even the biggest rainstorm eventually runs out of rain. And so my attitude is that you've got to look at what's going on. I think what Philip's saying is very accurate. But my friend Claire's husband apparently always ends his emails with walk slowly, which is a testament to us in this world where we rush all the time. And so to Philip's point, stop, have a look around, but also keep the faith that what you were doing worked before, it will do it again. But you do have to accept that there are going to be rough times and difficult times, and that what you are doing doesn't change because you are just having a rough time, because everybody is. And that you just keep the faith in terms of doing it. Talk to people, discuss with people. If you're feeling sad, you're feeling unhappy, make sure you are talking to people about it, and we will all come through it. And that's how I have got this positive focus towards that it will get better no matter what it is.
Fantastic. And it will get better. You know, everything, you know, what's that line? You know, everything seems impossible until you do it. That's sort of, you know, on that line, that's how I try to think about it. So, you know, you see all these impossible tasks, and you know, you get these challenges, and then it's like, this seems too terrible for words. And then you did it, and you're like, crikey, that wasn't so bad. So Marco, how do you in your business stay positive in these trying times?
Well, I agree with both of you in the fact that you have to pace yourself, and the fact that we've been in business for so long, all three of us, we've been through the ups and downs, never to this extent, of course, but we've been through the ups and downs. We've adapted, and that's the only way to survive in business. You have to be able to adapt. You have to keep an open mind. right now online, for instance, training some people online. Never done that before, but that's the only way to be done. And in fact, it's been beneficial for a lot of my clients and for myself. What I found personally, what helped me through this, has been helping me through this, business-wise and personally, is a strong foundation. Being a father of two great kids, having a great wife, they've been my foundation. We've worked together as a family. We looked at ourselves personally, looked inward, and in fact, we've just had during this situation, we've had our 25-year anniversary. And my
Congratulations,
kids
Walker.
Hey.
thank you very much. My kids are about to turn 18, graduating high school. So that's what I did. I tried to concentrate on the positive. I tried to concentrate on the positive on the business and in the personal life. And that's how you're going to get through it. And that's how you get through life. I think we can actually learn a lot from this experience. There is a lot of positive points. It just depends how you look at it. The glass can be either half empty or half full. So it's really important to always have a positive attitude. That's about it, really.
It's true. It's very true. It's sometimes it's hard to be positive. I'm the first one who's going to admit that. You have days where you just don't want to be positive, but you have to be. Otherwise, it's just not going to get better.
You know what helps with that, Zach? You know what helps with that?
Mhm.
Exercise.
Yeah, quite frankly, I was going to say there's no discussion with Marco when he comes along. You got to be positive, otherwise stay home. I already am staying home.
I'm positive. I don't feel like working out.
It's been proven. Keep active. Okay.
I have been keeping active. I'll have you know. Okay, before we get to the next question, I just want to say that Melissa Chaperon out there, she gave me one of these emojis. I don't know if that means she's like really happy or she's surrendering.
She's really happy about what I said.
Okay, and Zenda Powell says great, and she threw you a thumbs up there, Phil. Okay,
Yeah.
no, she's in the chat right now. I would imagine she's somewhere in your house.
I hope so.
Me too.
Okay, so the next question is, so there's lots of people who do what pretty much everybody does. It's very hard to find a very unique business. So each of you must be unique in your own way. So what do you do that makes you stand out amongst your competitors? Dad, let's start with you this time.
Well, what I try and do is actually a thing that I do a lot in my own life is look at people who are in pain, look at people who are angry, look at people who are upset, and try and understand why that is the situation, and then help them to try and make the best decision possible. People who are going through separation and divorce are often at the most vulnerable, worst possible time of their lives. And you're asking them while they're sitting there to make decisions that are going to affect the next 20, 25 years of their life sometimes. And so what I do that makes me different is I will actually stop and take the time with the people and try and understand them. Instead of just saying, look, this is what the law is, this is what you got to do, you've just got to do it this way. I will say, tell me a bit about what happened. Tell me what you're upset about. Tell me why you worried, and tell me what are you worried about? What are you worried about in the future? And the best example I can give you is a woman who she refused to sell her house, even though she couldn't afford it. And I went through it with her, and she said, I can never sell my home. I can never sell my home. And I said, hold on a second. Nobody ever sells your home. You only sell your house. I said, no wonder you don't want to do it. I said, if we could imagine getting you a home somewhere else that would be beautiful and new for you, and you could set up your furniture and do whatever it is. Imagine how great it would be to have another home instead of another house. And it took a bit of time, but eventually she came to me at the end and she said, you know what, that was made all the difference, because I realized now that actually I didn't want to sell my home. I only wanted to sell my house. And we resolved the issue because she really needed help to understand why she wasn't doing it. And I think that's what makes my business different, because I do help people in that way learn how to do things like that.
So it sounds like that the critical element is identifying each person's individual issue and treating them, beyond, going that extra mile for them so they don't just feel like a number on a page. Totally good. Okay, so Marco, what makes you stand out amongst the crowd?
Well, in my field, usually when a person comes to you, the first step is to have a consultation. In that consultation, you try to get as much information, physical information from the person, say, for instance, age, weight, and so on, past medical history, past history regarding exercise. And then you put together an appropriate exercise program. The problem was with that I found over the years, that if you only do that, the longevity of the person in the exercise routine is limited, because as when you get involved with something new, you're very enthusiastic about it. So what I did, instead of getting the body aligned with the exercise program, hopefully the mind will follow, I turned it all the way around. I made a full 360. So as soon as a person comes to my consultation, sure, I get that information. I get that information, which is the base of every exercise program. But I try to get to know the person. I do that by asking specific questions, like, are you married? You're a significant other, you have children, so on and so forth. By getting to know the person, I can actually use specific words that will energize them while they're exercising. So I truly believe if I get the mind energized, if I get that mind aligned with the exercise, the body will follow, as opposed to the other way around. And it's been quite successful. We set up a friendship while we're working out, but the main reason the person's there is to exercise, but you want them to feel special. And the only way to feel special is to truly know your client. And that's how I go about it. And it's been, like I said, it's been over 20 years and it's been working pretty well.
That's fantastic. And see, again, it goes back to what I was saying before, is that you treat each person as an individual. You learn who they are, you learn what their needs are, you learn what drives them, and ultimately it helps them work out or do the exercises better. And I heard a long time ago that you never regret a workout, and the best fitness plan is the one you actually do. So you actually help them on that path so that they want to do it, because it's more meaningful to them than just like something they Googled one day.
Well, my goal for them is to really have a healthy lifestyle throughout their whole life, as opposed to just the workout routine. So the minute they leave my studio, I want them to continue that mentality. It's important to maintain my health. It's important to live that healthy lifestyle, not just for myself, but for the people around me, for the people that I love.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Philip, so what makes you stand out in the auctioneering world?
Well, I guess that listening to both Marco and to, what's your name again? Julian. We have similar concepts in terms of what makes the difference. And I think the first one is going the extra mile, but more so is to understand the needs of the client. In my business, as I said, in both valuations and auctioning and disposal of assets, as well as entertaining people, it's very important to engage with people and truly understand and listen to what their needs are before you can work out a solution. And I have a philosophy. We all try to make the most out of every deal, but I have a philosophy that there's no deal too small, because if you understand it properly, it opens doors, and people, you build up a trust. And that trust is something that takes years and years of engagement and referral. And it's not something that is bought, it's earned. And those are the things that I think differentiate, being in a position of trust. I don't know, also in the South African arena, I am the vice chair of the Auction Institute of South Africa, and I head up governance, which is pretty much like Julian. I also have a mediation with RICS diploma, which engages people in conflict areas and finding resolutions and solutions to their problems. And that is the key. I think in any business, the key is to understand, first of all, who your client is, know your opposition, and to find out what you can do to energize a solution.
Okay, amazing. I think that, you say you've also got that mediation background. I think it really helps you then, achieve what it is you're trying to do. So that, as you say, you can go that extra mile. And clearly that seems to be a common theme in order to make yourself stand out.
Yeah, I reckon.
I would just like to say one thing is, as a recipient of Marco's training methods, what Marco does is to literally make you feel that you're a Protrainer client or a Fitness Explosion client, that your time that you have is special to you, that individually he actually only cares about you in that hour. He doesn't take any calls. He doesn't get distracted unless he forgets the count or something. But in all seriousness, you actually have and this I could say to all entrepreneurs out there, as an entrepreneur who's on the receiving end from someone who cares about me, is that you always feel at the end of it that your workout was personalized for you. And so to add to what both of them are saying, and what I try and do is to take anybody that comes to see you as a client. All they want to know is if they are paying you, that you value them. And often there are, you feel that it's a pain or this, that, and the other. Never do that. Always make sure, as Philip is saying, no deal's too small, no person's too small. Every single person's got feelings out there. And in order to make sure that you have a longevity for you to get referrals, because all of us will look, every single entrepreneur wants referral business. It's in that way to say, make sure that the person feels good about what they're doing just by giving them your concentration and learning about who they are, because both of you are saying it, I'm saying the same thing. It's a person that makes up your business. It's a lot of people. No matter how big your company is, one person has to make a decision about making the purchase. So thank you, Marco, for your dedication to me, because that has really helped me.
Well done.
Well,
Can I?
Well, I'd like to thank you, Julian. I'm sorry, just one point I want to bring up. The important thing in my industry, and I'm sure in both of your industries, are also that we always have to remember that the client is doing you a favor. You're not doing the client a favor. There's a lot of other people out there that they can go to. You're giving them the best you can, but the fact that they're with you, you always have to keep that in mind. And I think if you keep that in mind, you keep your feet on the ground, you can only progress, you can only move forward.
Okay, I'm glad I'm doing you a favor.
Philip, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I do. On my valuation slogan, one of my valuation slogans, which is actually on my letterhead, says, because I'm doing valuations, I say, what we value more than assets are our clients.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I think
the key.
Your client service is absolutely critical in pretty much any industry. If it isn't, I'd be shocked to hear about that industry. Before we continue, we're about halfway, so I just want to take this opportunity to reintroduce everybody who's with us tonight. Anybody who's just tuned in, we have my dad, Julian Liknaitzky, who is the owner and mediator at Mediating Divorce. We have Marco Alla, who is the owner of Interfit Explosion. And we have Philip Powell, who's the owner over at Powell Auctioneers. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everybody, if you could please share the stream tonight, that'd be super helpful. And if you have any questions for any of our guests tonight, please throw them in the chat. There will be a Q&A for that. And tonight we have an extra special super fourth guest that you would have never seen before and you would never even thought about seeing. And we're going to see them in just a moment. Before that, I do want to ask one more question. Philip, we're going to start with you on this one. Philip, how do you know when you've done a good job?
Well, as an auctioneer, you're always like trying to make everybody satisfied. But my view is that, and I've been asked this question before, I consider I've done a good job when I've made both buyer and seller equally unhappy. The buyer thinks he paid too much. The seller thinks he got too little. My job's been done.
That makes sense. Everyone's equally unhappy. Dad, how do you know when you... Sorry?
Yeah, correct.
Dad, how do you know when you've done a good job?
I think I know I've done a good job when people at the end of a mediation will say to me, you've made us both equally unhappy. No. Is when I will have people who actually will thank me for helping them to make the decisions which got them past what it is. I have a friend out there who's watching. He will recognize this quote. I don't know if he wants me to quote him, but I'm telling you, I'm using your quote. If it's not going to be important to you in 5 years' time, whatever you are arguing about, let it go. It doesn't matter. And often I will say to people, never mind 5 years, in 1 year's time, when you look back, you're going to just say, why did I not just accept this and move on? So to me, a job well done in a mediation is when you've got two people who are going to end up being good parents to their children and are going to say, you know what, bygones be bygones. Whatever we had to do, it was business in the end, and let's work on a parenting plan and make sure that our kids are looked after. That to me is when I've done a good job.
Well, and it's such a weird thing because in a divorce, you know, it's going to be really hard to probably to get anything positive out of it, because it's such a muck so often. And if you can actually find a way to get positivity out of it, then you know you're doing something right. Marco, how do you know when you've done a good job?
Well, it's obvious. I think I've done a good job when I see the physical transformation of the person. But I really think I did a great job when I see the transformation of the person, himself or herself, in confidence, in the way in which they sit down and they walk around, the way they speak. Their confidence is enhanced. And I think that's really important. That's a big part of my type of work also. Not only the physical, but the self-confidence and trying to get the most out of life. And I think if I can accomplish that with my clients, and I have it most of the time, I think I've accomplished what I wanted to do.
Yeah, Mark, we've got some comments here that I was going to read anyway, but this one's too good. Sasha says, Marco knows he's done a good job when people are yelling out in pain or saying, Marco, I hate you.
Marco's comment to that always is, take a number.
Well, Ed, I just want to go through some more comments. Thank you, David, for saying that this question was a great question. Appreciate that. Marta says, loyalty synonymous with trust. Patricia says, Philip is 100% right. Sasha said, psych yourself up, Marco. Lisa says that Jules is the most intuitive person she knows. He helps everyone, and he's the only man she knows who actually listens.
Thanks, Lisa Kent.
And I'm glad you wrote that down because I wouldn't have listened to it. Okay, now we're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to show you a video of our extra special fourth guest. Here he is. He is never been seen on the internet before in this format, and I'll let him introduce himself because he needs that introduction. Let's turn this all the way up here. That's not the right thing. Please bear with me. There you go.
Julian Liknaitzky, and I have the honor to be Zach's grandfather. It's thanks to that relationship, I think, that I'm here tonight. So thank you, Zach, for having regard to your Zayda. Now, I started off as a young attorney, and at that stage had entrepreneurial ambitions in that I was interested in buying immovable property. I had learned this from my grandfather and was able to pursue this activity while I was practicing because it was easy in those days to get a mortgage. I then continued in my practice and bought the odd individual property from time to time, but nothing big. When I was practicing as a lawyer, I realized that I was not going to be able to conduct a full-scale property purchasing business and also to run a legal practice. I chose the legal practice. And as a result, I'm afraid I didn't accumulate the multi-millions which property developers have been able to do. However, I've been very happy in what I've done, and what I'm about to tell you is all, I hope, happiness and no regrets.
Mr. Liknaitzky, looking back on your 89 years, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur today?
Well, that's not difficult, and it's very difficult because times have changed and business methods have changed, and I think in a way the actual thinking of people has also changed. But nevertheless, my views are like this. First of all, I think never to take undue risks. I once said to a client who was looking at a deal, I said, can you afford to lose this if it goes wrong? And he said, after thinking, he said, yes, I can. I said, go for it. I said, but if it means that it's going to destroy your life and your family, it's not really worth the risk. There may be other people these days who would say differently, but that's my view. Then the next thing is, when you do a deal on the basis of generosity, if at all possible. To be cutthroat and go for the last dollar puts you at risk for the next time you want to do a deal with this particular client or customer. The client should know that you are expecting that he will be able to make a profit on the deal. The price that you are charging on the deal, what you're costing, is going to enable him to come out with a profit. Otherwise, it's not worth his doing the deal, unless there are other factors involved, but never mind about those.
What would your motto be as regards life and business?
I would say, at this late stage of my career, if I dare call it still a career, is make a life, not a living, alone. That's hard to accept as advice, but it's advice that comes from the heart. Make a life, not just a living. And to prove it, here is, thank God, the living and the life that I'm able to show after 89 years.
And this is your Father's Day tribute to your family. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Wasn't that lovely?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
There you go. For those of you who apparently there were some audio issues in the beginning, that is my grandfather, affectionately known as Zami. I call him Zeta. He is 89 years old and he's still a practicing lawyer. He was also the president of EMI Records. He is famously known in South Africa for a multitude of things. And although he moves a little more slowly these days physically, he is as sharp as ever. Quick, what's a hilarious thing Zeta said?
Shut up, boy.
Look, come to me. Sasha, send me something funny Zeta said once. Okay, so now that we've enjoyed...
Please, Sasha, please.
Sasha, please send me something funny Zeta said once. Okay, now that we've heard that from Zeta, we want to say thank you. I'd also like to call out the fact that my gran sent me like 15 minutes worth of content because she was so keen for him to just hype himself up. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to use all of it, and I did let her know ahead of time. But anyway, so now I want to talk about the current climate, the COVID situation. And I'm sure that all of you have felt the COVID situation affect your business in one way or another. And so I wanted to hear about sort of how it's affected you and what you've done to pivot in order to adjust and adapt and make it better for yourself. Dad, start with you.
Well, I would say that it has been a very interesting experience looking back on it. At the time, it was less interesting because really we had no idea what was happening. But a lot of people decided to just stay where they were instead of mediating. They didn't want to spend any money. They didn't want to go to lawyers, didn't want to do anything. But as we have started to emerge from this COVID-19 blanket that we sort of all felt had been under, people have now started coming out and saying that they cannot actually stand anymore to be with a person. People that were having difficulties really couldn't stand the difficulties anymore and they wanted to get out of their marriages. Other people who had difficulties found that they actually, when forced together, changed and did kind of what Philip said, is kind of had to reboot their lives and realized maybe they liked each other a bit better than they did before, and that it wasn't so necessary to do it. But what has happened, though, is that there are a lot of people who are now coming to see me. Part of it is to help people understand how to live in the same house together, because there's nowhere to go at the moment and money is tight, and they've had issues with even finding places to go to in terms of real estate. They're scared to go and look at houses or new places because they might get ill and then bring it back to their families. So there's domestic living arrangements I've been dealing with. I've been dealing with parenting plans while people live inside a home, teaching them what to do, teaching them how to be good, bless you, thank you, teaching them how to actually live harmoniously together in preparation for where they're going, and having two kinds of lifestyles prepared. If they live here, this is what's going to happen. Thank you, Phil. And if, you know, if that happens, this is where you're going to go. So all in all, it's been quite a journey up and down. But again, back to my original point, which I said, in a time when you're sitting in the midst of this in the beginning of March and nobody wants to do anything, to understand it's not you. Don't take it personally. If no one wants to talk to you, it's not because you suddenly aren't a good mediator or a good trainer or whatever it is. It was just a situation to maintain your faith, because a lot of people are struggling with having to deal with being at home all the time. And even the best of people have difficulties in relationships when they're together all the time, especially when you've got little kids who suddenly don't go to school. So in terms of helping all of those people, it's really been quite a journey. And the same thing that Marco was talking about, I have learned how to mediate on Zoom, to have two people who are effectively in different rooms, but in the same room at the same time, sometimes being very helpful. It's enabled me to see people from much further away than I would have normally. If you live in Barrie, which is an hour away from where we live, you can now see me in the same as if you're around the corner. So from those things, it's actually been quite positive and beneficial. But the biggest change was having to just accept this total and utter sudden no business, none. You just had to sit there going, well, look, I don't know where this is going to be. Are people going to come back or whatever? And understand that they will, and it will get better. And now at the moment, very busy again with helping all of these people.
I think that's the most important part, is just realizing that when there is no work, it's not on you. It's not your fault. You're not suddenly bad at this. I can tell you, for me personally, like people didn't want to do anything with marketing. That was the last thing they wanted to do, even though in my mind, that's the first thing you should be doing, because you want to pump out your business so that people buy your service or your product. But again, it was just a dog show. But like you said, just keep pushing. You didn't suddenly become terrible overnight. You're still the same person, just needed to wait it out and adjust. Okay, Marco, before we get to your answer, Sasha down here has said, excuse me, Marco, are you taking another call? We're in session. But yeah, so Marco, tell us about how the COVID situation has affected you and how you've adjusted.
Like everyone else, in the beginning, you weren't sure what would happen business-wise, would I recover, especially in the type of business that I'm in. It's would people be coming back and so on. But I found what helped me through it, how I've adapted to it, was that instead of hoarding and closing myself off, I opened myself up to new ideas, new ventures. I gave my services to certain charities. I'm involved with an organization called the Meta Foundation. I do classes for the participants. They do a charitable organization that deals with adults with mental challenges. And I found that was beneficial to get me through this period of time. And I found that, like you've stated previously, just to keep in mind, it has nothing to do with you personally. It's just the situation we find ourselves in. Let's try to do the best. And in the meantime, try to use it to benefit yourself in the future. Take down some courses, read up on some books, do some research, and you'll benefit from it. Your clients will benefit from it later on when everything goes back, hopefully goes back to normal sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. I think a critical element there is the bettering yourself for the future. It's great to just like adjust for now, but if you can come out of this better than you were before, then you're turning it the most negative into the most positive. By the way, Sasha wants you to know she swears she only makes fun of you with love.
Thanks, Sasha. I thought so.
So Philly, tell us, how's the COVID situation affected you? Besides being forced to spend more time with your wife
and not playing golf.
Yeah, that's all of them are going to. All of those factors are actually going to influence my answer to you. In my business, auctioneering is an interactive affair where you're engaged with people. It's an emotive experience where people make big decisions in short spaces of time. And as an experienced auctioneer, you learn body language, you learn actions, you learn where people's thresholds are. And that's all changed, because now everything I've had to embrace for the first time, online auctioning and online valuing, which actually takes the sting out of everything, or the enthusiasm, because as a traditional auctioneer who's been involved in sales and auctions as an activity, I now feel like a prize fighter that's having to fight for a title by shadow boxing. You know, it's not easy, but it is the 21st century, and I've always, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've avoided the online space, and I'm now embracing it. And just to pick up where Julian mentioned about golf, I'm very involved in fundraising initiatives for underprivileged and worthy causes. And one of our initiatives that we've got right now, because the golf, for some reason, our government has decided that golf is a big threat in open spaces, but you can go 14 up in a taxi. That's social distancing. What has happened is all our poor caddies around the country who are breadwinners or have been out of a job. And you know, a caddy is a person who, like, he's as good as his last bag. And it's been very, very difficult. So what Golf RSA in South Africa have done is they've embarked on an initiative to raise funds for the caddies throughout the country. And it's actually on the go right now. And that is where we are doing raffles. We've had to think about things. So we've got hold of famous people. One of them is Ernie Els. You might have heard of him. Not a bad golfer. And we've raffled 350 tickets, or we've put up for sale 350 tickets at R1,000 a piece to play golf with Ernie Els, and three players to play golf. And it's now day 2, and we've sold 160 of those tickets. So that's one of the, it costs nothing. The other thing that we're embracing is people have been very benevolent and contributing to the cause, and they've given us lots of wonderful items, destinations, tourist destinations when it can be used, and some wonderful safari tours, flights, etc., which we are going to be auctioning live. So we've got 2 initiatives, one live online, and one what we call a timed or static auction over a period of time, which is actually kicking off this week. And we expect to raise quite a lot of money for the caddies in South Africa, which is all going to be controlled through Golf RSA. That's the one initiative. The other initiative that we've had to embrace also is because we can't have more than a certain limited amount of people together at one venue, like 50 people, which is considered a crowd, it compromises your auction audience. So again, it's leaning now towards how do we do this online? So the online space has become a very big platform for even traditional auctioneers like myself. It's not easy, but it's exciting because the results are what counts.
I mean, that's great that you're doing that for the caddies. You know, it's interesting here because it's like over here, golf is like a very okay thing to do. I played golf this weekend. It was shocking. But you know, people are using golf as their way to socialize people on from a social distance perspective. Although according to Kim Kuklowitz, we don't have caddies in the real world. Take that as you will.
Well, in South Africa, everybody's got caddies because it's a livelihood for people, I guess. So,
but thank you for that, everybody. Thank you for that, everybody. That's all very helpful, useful stuff. And now we're going to move to the Q&A section. Firstly, Kim wants to know if Phil is a Dutchman. I've never been so excited for an answer.
No, a Dutchman is something else which I won't disclose on. Well, the term Dutchman can be derogatory in South Africa. But no, I'm not a Dutchman. I'm actually a South African, Jewish-born South African.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for sharing that. But Kim, no, don't worry. Nobody is offended. Nobody is offended. Okay,
no,
Phil, this next question is also for you. Marta wants to know, what was your inspiration to become an auctioneer?
Oh, wow. Okay, so
strap in.
All right, see you
Get
later,
comfortable.
How long have I got?
Not long.
We want the expurgated version.
Okay, so many years ago when I'd finished college, I went overseas to England to become, or with ideas of becoming a professional footballer, which led me to auctioneering. I worked next door casually for a cousin of mine next door to an auction mart. And one day I was excited by the activity. English people on tube stations are not the most exciting experience. And so I was excited to go to this auction. There was activity. And I was earning in those days as an apprentice, I was earning £35 a week, which was enough to pay my rent and pay my transport and travel. And I was attending this auction when the auctioneer put up something which reminded me of an antique piece that my late grandfather had, which was an inkwell, a Victorian inkwell. And he said, "Who'll give me a £5 for this?" And I said, "I'll give you a £5, no problem." And by the time I put my hand down, I bought this thing for £30. And I was like caught in the fever. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the money. I only get paid on the Friday. This was a Wednesday. And I went to the auctioneer afterwards, nervous as anything, and said, "I'm sorry, I overstepped my mark, but here's a deposit. I'll pay you on Friday when I get paid." He said, "No, it's okay." I said, "I'm next door." He said, "No, take, it's fine." I said, "Please, here's for £5, give me a receipt," which he did. And the next day, being a Thursday, I was busy packing stock on top of a ladder, and he walked in. And I thought, oh my God, he wants his money. What must I do now? Give him my watch, give him my glasses, or something. And he said, "Come here, laddie." And I went to him and I said, "I'm only getting paid." He said, "No." He said, "There's a guy next door who'll give you 50 quid for it if you want it. Do you want to sell it, yes or no?" I said, he said, "Well, do you want to sell?" I said, "Yes." So he gave me the money. And I looked at this and I was shaking like a leaf. I think I was 18 years old. And I said, "Gee whiz, I made nearly a whole week's salary not knowing what I'm doing. Can you imagine how much you could make if you knew what you're doing?" And that's how I actually got interested in the auction business. Went to a couple of big names and started learning about different disciplines in the auction business and different periods. And came back to South Africa 2 or 3 years later. Started working in the auction business for a boss who I was with for many years. And that's how I kicked off in the auction business, which evolved again into valuations and fundraising.
It's funny because, some people say it, but you literally stumbled into it.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't by design.
No, it was not. It's often things are not by design. That's it.
Yeah.
Marco, David wants to know, do you think you'll continue to offer Zoom as an option for your clients after COVID, or would it inhibit your normal way of business when everything else is back to normal?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think the fitness industry's in a crossroads right now. So I think I'm going to be doing a bit of Zoom and a bit of live, depending on what the clients want. But I'm going to try to keep that going also.
Depends on the weather, I think.
The weather, if there's ice, if there's ice, I'll be doing Zoom.
Yeah, I've had a feeling that I'm going to get a call. So it's very icy out there. I think we're going to be doing a
Very
Zoom
icy. I'm not coming
thing
down
today.
By the way, Philip, I meant to say that as soon as you said you got the fever, and I couldn't help but be reminded of Christopher Walken, "I've got a fever, and my only prescription is more cowbell." In your case, more auctions. I need more auctions.
Quite right.
Also, the line of my Zetas, which I couldn't remember off the top of my head, thank you to Sasha for reminding me, is if at first you don't succeed, swear profusely and keep going. Okay, and Dad, the question for you is, what is your strategy to not get weighed down by the conflict you see every day?
It's actually a good question because a lot of people ask me that. And the answer is you just can't make it about yourself. It's about helping people. So at the end of the day, you have to take each individual case, help the person, and then switch off that and move on. Sometimes it can be upsetting, particularly when it's relating to children. But in the most part, I'm able to compartmentalize each individual client and just say, okay, this is done now for today, and move on to the next one and help the next person, because it really wouldn't help if I was sitting there all depressed and someone came in and needed my help and positivity. And I said to him, well, if you mind today, what we can do is we can just talk about me, because I'm very upset about my previous client. Really wouldn't do well. So and that's just what you do. You just have to take each case and know that you can help them and help them move them towards a better and more positive place, and close the file and move to the next one.
Yeah, crush it in your mind, Vice.
Absolutely.
Don't get weighed down by it, just crush it. Gone.
Thank you, Jack.
That's right. Okay, so thank you for everybody's questions. We're now going to move on to my other favorite part called 30 seconds. This is the quick fire game. Rules are quite straightforward. I'll go over for everybody who hasn't played before, who hasn't watched us play before. We have these cards. There's 10 things on each card. I try to describe them as quickly as possible in 30 seconds. It's everything from pop culture, history. It's very much a potpourri type situation. We have our counter in the other room. She'll be keeping track of everybody's answers. And we're going to have one practice round. So, Marco, I'm going to be describing them. I'm not going to be saying the thing, but I will be trying to make it as obvious as possible so that you can get it. And you need to all answer as quickly as possible because you're competing against each other.
So I'd like to just say one thing before. We once played 30 seconds. It's a little bit unfair on Marco in some way. Philip and I were playing 30 seconds in Cape Town. I don't remember the people playing with, but it categorically is one of the biggest laughs I have ever had in my life. The question was, who did America bomb today? The answer was Iraq. The person said it was Tehran, which was in Iran. They'd asked the question wrong. They both got the answer right on the completely wrong thing. And I lay on the kitchen floor and laughed for about a half an hour. So good game. And thanks, Philly, because that was really one of the biggest laughs I've ever had in this game ever.
Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready for
practice round?
This is the practice round. Are we ready? Is the counter ready? Take that as a yes. Okay. 30 seconds coming at you. 3, 2, 1. Okay. The American football team in Miami.
Dolphins.
Correct. The magazine that also sounds like Keith Richards' band.
Rolling Stone.
Correct. Okay. The thing when the Germans, the big one that the Germans started, but it was the second one. Well, what's the full thing?
World War II.
No, like the other way to say it. Not
Second World War.
Yes. Okay. The guy in Mission Impossible.
Tom Cruise.
Correct. Blue label, black label.
Scotch, whiskey.
What's the brand? Who's the
guy?
guy? Who's the guy?
Daniels.
Johnny Walker.
That's it.
Johnny Walker.
Well done, and that's time. Okay. Does everyone understand the rules?
Come on,
Marco.
Marco.
I just want to ask one question. Zach, you answered that like Zach had told you all those questions beforehand.
No, these are blind. I'm pulling them out blind. In fact, just for the interest of fairness, I'm going to pull out from the middle. You tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
I will. Carry on.
The box is loving the massage.
Yes.
Stop. Okay.
I'm
Pulling.
impressed.
All right, let me tell you something. The fact that I said Jack Daniels for that whiskey should give me indication that I'm a moron.
Yeah. He was not coached on that one. Okay.
He was giving us hope.
Okay. Yes. Okay. The round is starting in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Moonwalk. Thriller.
Michael Jackson.
Yes. The army in the ocean. What's that one called?
Navy.
Yes. Okay. The main thing people jump. The main company people fly with to get out of where Philip lives.
South African Airways.
Correct. Okay. That show with Leah Michelle where they all sing all the time. Yes. Okay. Gosh, that was really hard to say. South African Airways. It was so difficult. Okay, we're just waiting for the results to come through. Okay, Dad got.
You just started.
No. This is just round 1.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, round 1. Dad got 3, Philip got none, and Marco got 1.
Oh, South African Airways is none. I bet
No, they're bankrupt now, so it doesn't count anymore.
Well, that's what I was saying. So it doesn't
I think
count.
JetBlue didn't count, Phil.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Round 2 coming at you in 3, 2, 1, go. It's the love time with Cupid. It's the
Valentine's Day.
Valentine.
correct. Okay. It's in Texas. It's the show
Dallas.
that yes.
Dallas.
It's not Susan Sarandon. It's the woman who looks exactly like her. She was an Alien.
My wife.
No, the woman in Alien.
Alien. Oh, yeah, my mother-in-law.
Tony Stark's second movie. What's it called?
Iron Man 2.
Correct. Okay, that's time.
Who's Tony Stark?
Iron Man. Okay, so we're just waiting on the results on that one. Philip, you definitely win most hilarious response. Actually, I'm giving you that one. I'm going to give you that point. Okay, so Dad got 2, Philip got 1, Marco got none, but technically Philip got 2 in that round. So if we just excuse me. Okay, so
You can't say his mother-in-law's an alien.
no, that was hilarious. I'm counting, and also it's out of sympathy. Okay, so then 1, and so you got 2. Okay, round 3, but points are doubled, so making the first 2 rounds completely irrelevant. Okay, are we ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, the Popeye's friend who'd rather pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Brutus.
No, the other one. He's not strong. Yes. Where Hugh Hefner lived.
Funny Mansion.
No.
Los Angeles.
No, come on, no, the name of the place.
Playboy House.
Playboy Mansion.
Thank you, Marco. The Playboy Villa. The really famous tennis player. Everyone says his name wrong.
Roger Federer.
No, the other one.
Djokovic.
No, the other one. Andre
Ken
Agassi.
Rosewall.
Agassi.
Andre Agassi.
Rod
Yes, that was
Laver.
it.
Rod Laver.
Rod Laver.
1971 Wimbledon
The
champion.
Playboy Villa. All right, we're waiting for the points on that one. That was a spectacular round, everybody. Dad got 1, which is 2. Philip got none, and Marco got 2. So Dad is the winner. Woohoo! Well done, everybody.
Well done.
Counted double.
Yes, I'm saying despite your doubled points, Dad was already at 5, so it didn't matter.
Sorry, Phil.
The outrage.
Okay.
It's like, fine, Philip, when we come to Cape Town, we'll play in real time, face to face.
Okay, I just would like to say a special thank you to Philip for staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning. I do appreciate that. He's actually better at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's at 8 o'clock in the night because he's probably been dozing off. So thanks for being awake for us, Philly. You look like you're wide awake. That's impressive, I've got to tell you.
That's perfect. Now I have to thank him.
Go to sleep now.
Yeah, it's almost Dossie's time, but we actually have come to the end of the show. So I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for all of our guests for coming on. Lovely to have you. If you want to find, I'm going to let you guys plug yourselves one more time because, as I've said many times, the whole show is a plug. So, Dad, how do people find you?
Okay, you can find me at mediatingdivorce.ca. It's my website. You can phone me. You can, however you need to find me. And please, if you're having any difficulties in your life or life coaching, if you're needing mediating advice, if you're getting divorced or separated, you're not sure how to do things, please call me. I want to help you. I really want to get a result for you, and you don't have to live like that forever. There is a way out of it. So please call.
I love ways out of things. Marco, how do we find you?
You can find me on Instagram under Interfit Explosion, and just give me a call and we can set up a time, sit down, do a consultation, and help you reach your goals.
Fantastic. Philip, how do we find you?
Wake up, man.
I think the best thing is to find me on Bookface, and you can reach me at Powell's Auction and Valuation Specialist, or you can just Google Philip Powell Auctioneer, and I'll be happy to engage with anybody that needs my help.
Awesome. Just a pro tip, if you want Dad or Marco to get back to like the quickest, ask them to send you photos of their dogs. You will get like an unlimited supply of dog photos. So I don't know if you'll ever get to actually talking about what they do for work, but you will reach them.
Okay, I'm going to take some paternal privilege here. I had to think about that for a while. I just wanted to thank Zach for everything that he's doing. He's got his company called Instinct Marketing. This, I think, is your 11th show.
Yep.
So he's up to 33 people that he's connected with, and he's done a wonderful job. He hosts the show amazingly. He doesn't take money from any of these people. He wants to help everybody. He's been helping them, as he said, to plug their businesses, and people have really actually got business from it already. They're coming to him to get some of his marketing advice. So thank you, Zach, for all that you're doing, because everybody out there is benefiting from you. And as your Zeta likes to say, be generous with your time, be generous with what you're doing. And that is what you're doing. And I'm proud of you. And a lot of people out there think you're doing a fantastic job. So thank you.
I endorse that. Absolutely.
Very good.
Thank you,
And I
everybody.
just want to end off by saying something to Julian. You made a comment that your friend ends off his emails, walk slowly. I think you must change yours to, you'll never walk alone.
Thank you, Philly. In 6 points time, I mean, in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully we will be singing that.
Come
You
on.
deserve.
As opposed to Philip's theme song, come on mid-table, come on mid-table. Sorry, these are all very esoteric soccer jokes that I'm sorry that the non-soccer people out there have to be exposed to. But thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for all the kind words. Again, if you could share it out, share the video out, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And we'll be at you next week with 3 new phenomenal guests. Thanks to everybody for being here.
Bye, everybody.
And we'll chat you later.
Well done. Take care.
Well done. See you later.
Thank you. Laters.
Bye.